Hulk is basically a monster. We try to give the player the feeling that they really are the Hulk.
He's like the strongest one there is. Bull in a China shop, except the China shop is New York City.
The strongest superhero ever. The ultimate power of the Hulk.
He's the single most powerful character there is out there.
He gets to experience being the Hulk.
The player gets to indulge in all these crazy things he can't do in regular life.
You felt like you could just run around wild and start destroying stuff. That's what the Hulk does.
The action is over the top. You definitely won't like him when he's angry.
This superhero takes a flaming bus and throws it half a mile at a 60-foot-high mech. This superhero catches a cruise missile that's being shot at him and takes down a skyscraper into the bargain. That is the power we're trying to deliver.
You're taking one of the biggest larger-than-life characters there is fictionally, and you're putting him in an open-world city environment where he can basically do anything.
With the Hulk's momentum, you can do whatever you want. Nothing can stop you.
Probably there have been times in your life when you wished you could turn into the Hulk. There's something incredibly cathartic about that. It can be good and it can be bad and it can be fun.
To be a success, it has to be different. The key design elements in Hulk, we have epic fighting, total destruction, unstoppable movement, total freedom.
One of my favorites is the total destruction, just being able to rip a car apart, use them as steel boxing gloves, or grabbing chunks of destroyed buildings and using those as bowling balls.
The free roaming element of the game is about giving the player choice. He can start off anywhere in the environment, he can go anywhere in the environment. If he wants to go and start a mission and continue the story and interact with other characters, that's available to him at any time. If he wants to kick cop cars into the harbour, he can do that. If he wants to run around just creating a public nuisance, it's available to him.
The first time I've ever seen a video game, you have the sightline of the entire city, the entire environment from any vantage point, which is an incredible achievement.
It's not just a free-roaming city, it's much more interactive than we've ever seen before. We worked really closely with Marvel, and they're always in there constantly making sure that the user's going to get this super over-the-top experience that they've never seen before with any other superhero character.
Marvel has a lot of involvement in how we build this game. Marvel is responsible for the character. They want to make sure we treat it right.
He's still green, right?
That's true, he's still green. And he always wears purple pants, so he has appalling sense in fashion.
Right. Yeah, if you know you're going to turn green, the last thing you want to do is wear purple pants. So in the case of the Hulk, there are so many facets. There's the psychological facet. There's sort of the monster movie aspect of it. There's the superheroic aspect of it, which is, the colorful big, character that appears in a Marvel comic.
The storylines, the concepts that come across in all Hulk stories tell the human story of Bruce Banner, who's dealing with rejection from the world.
What's most successful is when the story's really good, when you feel like the moves make sense and that the action's driven by something other than just some carrot in the distance.
Given that we're now based off of the comic book, we have just full license to run rampant in the world, whereas when you're dealing with a movie license, you have to stick pretty close to that story.
We were fortunate enough to get a very talented writer in Paul Jenkins, who's an award-winning, high-profile comic book writer.
Paul Jenkins was our writer, and he wrote the Hulk comic for a couple of years and really brought in some dark elements, especially around the inner torment of Banner.
He's just a wonderful writer. And the fact that both he and Brian are British, I won't hold against them.
As a very little kid, I used to sit on the floor and draw comic books. Had no idea that would be my career.
What's happening to me?
My darling boy, don't be afraid.
Writing a video game is very much a collaborative experience. The difference is that you're writing a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle. You have to adapt every other 5 minutes. We have a new technical problem, the technology's changing, there's a new game engine, and every time that happens, you as a writer have to be able to adapt to the change. He's an amazing character, he's very enduring, obviously people have loved him for a very long time, but there's an aspect to him that we don't understand. It's not very often that we get that much rage. So working with the Hulk itself is actually a way of exploring your own anger or inner rage.
We went along with Brian Hitch's Ultimate Series as our sort of goal for this is the type of comic book we want to try to reflect in our game. It was a lot more darker, a lot more epic.
So I'm really happy with that, so that's going to be great. The fans of the Hulk are going to be very pleased, I think.
Great. Actually, we have some art here that we just got today.
These are some of the early concepts from Brian Hitch. So I just want to run these by everybody to kind of see if everyone's happy with early direction. Here he's kind of coming right at you in the image. Here he's just kind of got the classic Hulk pose where he's looking really strong, really aggressive.
You got more of the shaven head, more of a mohawk type of a hairdo. And a lot more vascular. His muscles were more defined and vascular than previous versions of the Hulk.
I spent a lot of my time figuring out how we're going to accomplish all of these great ideas. Finding the best composer, looking for the best sound effects designers in the world, looking for the best orchestra in the world, looking for the best writer for this project. It's pretty different from what Vlad and Tim do back at Radical.
Video game producer is a really interesting job because you have to be a total generalist. You have to know something about tech, you have to know something about art, obviously you have to know a lot about gameplay, but you also have to know about people management and budget management, and it's a really cool job. It's kind of like the combination of a movie director and a movie producer all kind of rolled into one. Managing a team of 40, 50 people towards a common goal over 2 years, it's a huge challenge, and when you get to the finish line, it's pretty awesome, that feeling you get when, yeah, we did it as a team.
The designers work on the gameplay experience, so the artists work on the aesthetic, the programmers work on the foundations to make things happen. But the designers are really directors of individual little segments of the game, and really sort of defining what the experience is going to be, and then working with everyone else to figure out how to make it as good as it can be.
The last portion of the process in developing a game is when we get to quality assurance.
So we give it to between 15 and 30 kids that are hardcore gamers, and they'll go through it, play the game from just about every aspect you could possibly think of.
And they have a giant database, they collect all the bugs.
One thing I noticed is that there's a map hole, and so if we were writing a bug, that would be one of the things that we would write up.
We'd be looking at upwards of 10 to 12,000 bugs, each one a separate issue.
Because we're going for a more realistic story with some more mature themes, we're also having to go with, and I think it's a good thing, we're going with a more realistic art style, a gritty art style. You know, there's areas of the city that are kind of scummy, like real cities, and you know, there's some heavy-duty enemies and some heavy-duty weapons that happen that aren't necessarily over-the-top fantastic. They're real, they're based on, you know, military equipment.
Once the initial design is laid out, I go and develop this thing called a style guide. So this sort of outlines visual style, characters that we want to introduce, color palettes especially.
It would have similarities to Manhattan as far as it's an island and it's got, you know, different boroughs and different areas and, you know, surrounded by water and coastlines somewhat familiar. So we modeled it off of different cities, taking ideas from them to create what would be quickly acceptable as a big city feel.
We really decided to take our physics system to the next level as well. So when Hulk runs into a car or slams it or pushes it back in the world, it will react realistically. And because he's so powerful, it's going to fly.
Every single FMV that we have in the game, including just basically all of our non-interactive sequences in the game, we did motion capture to kind of capture that experience to basically go right along with the voiceover.
In the motion capture studio, the actors actually act out from the boards and sound files that we give them. We start with animatics, blocking it out, the timing and whatnot, taking what we can from the motion capture, and then we'll move into final animation. That's keyframing, facial animation, the final touches.
A lot of our animations actually involves us acting it out. We will take a camera and we'll actually perform whatever move is required. Currently going to show you some weaponization animation that we're working on.
For weaponization, we really want to offer the ability for the player to interact meaningfully with all these props in the world. So he can knock a car out of his way if he's just running down the street, but he can also grab that car and toss it at enemies. He can toss it at a tank, he can toss it at a helicopter and pluck it out of the air. He can also grab many of the objects in the world and then change the shape of them to change the gameplay meaning.
The current one I'm going to show is called Ball and Chain. It's basically a mace-like prop that Hulk wields around.
There are tons of different types of weaponizations in the game, and they're released to you chapter by chapter as you go through the experience. So we think people will get a lot out of it.
It's a pretty lengthy process sitting with the writers and working out the script. But that script is really going to dictate, essentially the Bible for the rest of the game, of where we're putting our FMVs, where we're putting our NISs and cinematics in the game. Here's a storyboard of our villain Blonsky talking to his wife, but his wife is actually a photograph of her. He's losing his mind, and the photographs are talking back to him.
No, it's not like that. I promise. I'm not afraid of the mutation anymore. Not when I have this kind of power.
The Abomination is like a dark reflection of the Hulk, whereas the Hulk generally does the right thing. Abomination has no qualms in indulging all of his darkest fantasies.
He's the one who is theoretically actually stronger than the Hulk. And in order, yeah, my understanding, you could even ask the historians, he's even stronger, but the Hulk, when the Hulk gets angrier, as is well known, he gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So the deeper you get into the fight, the more the scales turn and the Hulk is able to compete.
This is the gym that I'm going to show you. This is the tool that designers use. I'm a designer. I want to say, okay, well, what's it like to play at response level 1? Is that too easy, too hard? What is most fun to the player? The gym allows the designer to play with these numbers and encounters in a very easy way.
As an example, like right now, Hulk's max charge jump, he goes to a height of 20 meters. So in this tool, we can take that number and say bump it up to 40 meters. So now if I do a max charge jump, he should jump twice as high.
On the fly, change it, try it. I could bump it up to 6, down to 1. I could do that in minutes. It's a world of difference.
I did do a lot of the effects, basically kind of built up an effects database that we used to blow up our props, basically, or damage them, or make them smoke, or make them light on fire, or anything that blows up or has fire, flame, smoke, debris, dirt. That's me. Basically, Hulk 1, every effect took up a chunk of memory. In Hulk 2, we have a way of instancing the effects, so it basically means each effect is kind of a clone of another effect. Before we could have one effect, we can maybe have 10 in place of that one effect now, so maybe 10 times more effects than Hulk 1.
All right, this is the milestone where we really have to kick it up another notch. Think of it as base camp and then climbing the mountain. Well, we're climbing the mountain again.
This is a 4-week milestone, milestone 16. And we have a demo in 3 weeks at VUG in LA.
This milestone build is being used for our final official focus test.
We need to make sure that it plays right. We put it in gamers' hands and said, here's a new idea. Here's weaponization. What do you think?
I've never done that, so that was something new and surprising.
We have a database that we maintain, has over 3,000 gamers. We wanted to make sure they had not played Hulk before, at least this particular version of Hulk, and so it was a fresh, new experience for them.
It makes it incredibly hard to try to grab and punch a helicopter while you're flying by them at 40 miles an hour.
That doesn't give you like any type of control in the air. It's very interesting and exciting to know that what I have to say is actually going into the game.
It was really cool because I had enough to say about a game that wasn't finished. It wasn't hard to talk about a game that's not done.
You feel like you had like an active participation in the making of the game, and it's just makes you feel kind of important, you know?
I like the consistency of feedback with the first group and the second group on some key items, things that we know we need to look at, and so ultimately, it's very valuable. It's going to help us make it a lot better game.
I got into this line of work because I was always noisy, very, very noisy.
The more realistic the sound is, the more the player feels that they're there.
It's the genuineness of it, the believability, the plausibility of it, and the detail lends a lot to that.
They went so far as to go out to a junkyard in the middle of the California desert and record car smashing, dropping, and pounding sounds through a Foley session at a junkyard, which for me is the perfect way to capture the Incredible Hulk.
We pretend that we can control this stuff, but it's an illusion.
This will be Kilo Kilo, take 6. Cut.
The whole game is about power, so the sound has to definitely depict this power, and because there's so much destruction going on. Because the Foley session was recorded in high definition, we could really manipulate these things to a much further extent than you can with other sound sources and libraries.
We want it to be fresh, you know, and interesting, and I think that we go to great lengths to create new libraries of raw material. There's a lot of sound that gets recorded that you don't necessarily hear when you're out there, and that's what we're interested in. What sounded like a, you know, is in fact.
We came up with a water tank trailer. Basically, it was a water tank on a trailer, welded to a trailer and bolted down. So when we dropped that, obviously you had the kind of the hollowness, but it also had these real loose metal parts that banged around.
I think Brian got the bright idea of taking a grappling hook and hooking it up to the van, and then they took a tractor and dragged it and just ripped the thing like a can opener.
And eventually we dropped the water tank into the van.
Oh, that's right.
And then we picked the whole caboodle up and we dropped that.
That was the grand finale of the day.
The sounds that you hear in the game are really a conglomeration of a bunch of different sounds.
When you hear an explosion, that might be a layer of fire, of glass, of metal, and that is what actually makes up one sound.
What? So we just keep trying stuff. Try not to break anything or kill anyone. So far we've succeeded.
We started adding music, so I've taken the blocked FMV from the FMV guys, passed that on to Bill Brown, our composer, and he's done a track for that. So right now we're at a point where we have some dialogue and some music. We're going to be adding sound effects, and then we'll do the final mix.
Bill Brown is our composer on this title, and he has an amazing background in video games. He's got a wide variety of experience, and he really brings that cinematic feel.
Wow, it's a little much. It gets like, I can't really hear the note anymore. It just becomes a noise at that point. I think I'd like a little more of the note there. In the case of this project, it's it's just a lot of action and a lot of adrenaline. My job in the majority of this game is actually, the second you get in, you are just roaring from one end of the level to the other. They're the character. They're playing it. So basically, I'm just supporting their experience, and I'm just deepening that experience. That's my goal. And these LA players just, man, they just nail it. There it is. Nice. Ah, it's magic.
My name is Bruce Banner, and this is me.
We went to Neil McDonough. Neil, we chose him because he actually is doing a lot of great stuff lately, but he also played Bruce Banner in the Incredible Hulk cartoon series. So Neil was already familiar with the character.
I don't understand. Is this mission directive?
He had the voice down, and he just had the right personality, perfect fit.
I am the Hulk. I did this to myself, all in the name of science. You're not gonna like me when I'm angry.
Next, Ron Perlman, the best monster voice I've ever heard. And he's a great actor. So he was the perfect fit for Emma Blonsky,
I know what triggers it, you freak. I know how tough you are to the nearest decimal point. I don't need to know how to become like you. I need to know how to control it.
What are you?
I'm Ahab, and you're the big white whale. Now, open wide and say, ah.
Banner, when he becomes the Hulk, that's his inner being really coming out, and whatever he went through in his life, he has a lot of pain inside, and the great thing is he gets to let it out. It has an emotional level to it also, which is so much more important. So when you're playing, there's obviously technique, and you have to be tough enough to stick with the program, but with Hulk, there's also that emotional thing. You get to play with your emotion and the Hulk's emotion, so I think it's going to be a big hit for kids and also for adults like myself.
Hulk is not afraid. Hulk is the strongest one there is.
Well, everyone recognizes the Hulk as a part of themselves, I think. It's the part of them which just wants to destroy, and it's those crazy ideas you get in your head at the spur of the moment, and most people, a healthy person, shuts those down, but the Hulk just acts on them. He just wants to destroy and wreck anything which gets in his way. And I think we've built a game which really kind of offers that opportunity for stress relief and rewards it and builds on it.
Epic fighting. It's just an awesome experience.
Everyone really gets very stoked about working on a video game and getting to realize their dreams in a sense, because they get to create whatever they want.
This has been one of the most amazing experiences of my career. I think video games have the potential to be these great immersive movies where you play your own movie.
He gets to experience being the Hulk. The Hulk just lets it out. He lets it rip, and this is what he is. And I think it's a really great metaphor for life, that if we could be more like the Hulk at times and just be freer with our thoughts and who we are, then I think the world would be a heck of a better place.
I truly believe that the Incredible Hulk is the best character for a video game. He's unstoppable. He's the strongest character there is. No one can beat him.